Hello, Internet. Good morning. Happy Friday. Super pumped to be here for the Friday morning real estate chat. I think everything is working well. Let me go ahead and get these banners up. Let's see here. Post questions in the chat and the trusty disclaimer, letting everybody know that I really don't know. So anything you hear, go ahead and reach out to somebody that does know before you do anything. Let's see here. This week we had a ton of fun. My brother and I actually went on a family vacation. We took all of our children. So collectively between the two of us, we've got 7. We went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which was tons of fun. That was the first time that we've been on like a family vacation, and we really enjoyed it. So if you have any real estate questions, if you have anything that you've been wondering about, this is your chance to ask it, and I will, in fact, answer it. So I guess while there aren't any comments yet about real estate questions, let me go ahead and figure out. I recently took to Reddit, and Reddit is a lot of fun. So I created a little real estate investing subreddit. If you'd like to join that, then I would love for you to do so. And then I think I would like to answer a lot more real estate questions. So anybody that wants to join that, please do. It's called Talk Real Estate is the name of the subreddit. I will actually go ahead and put a link to it so that everybody could join. Let's see. How do I share this? All right. Yep, there's the link to the subreddit that I've created. Now I'm going to hop on YouTube and pin that. Cool. All right, so my whole goal with this Reddit is to just connect with you guys more often and to answer questions more frequently than Friday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I have found that I love answering real estate questions, and that's pretty much all that I do at this point when I'm not actually working in our real estate business. So even the insurance agency, the smaller insurance agency that I do have, all of my clients are real estate investors, and a lot of the time we spend talking about real estate investment strategies, philosophies, all of that. So I'm a real big fan, and I think it would also create a easier way for us to discuss questions on these live streams because I can just pull up that thread and go over some of the best questions that have been asked throughout the week. So I think that'll be fun. Plus, one of the untapped resources, I think, in this YouTube channel is, in fact, you guys. So pretty regularly when people get on this live stream and really start asking questions, a lot of times people ask or answer them in the comments. So that's fun to watch. And, you know, as this Reddit or subreddit thread grows, I think, you know, just the more experience, the more wisdom there'll be, and the more diverse advice that you'll get because, hey, I am just one person with one perspective. So the more people that you have weigh in on whatever question or situation you want to pose to everyone, the more responses that you'll get. So it'll be tons of fun. Let's see, I might just go over a few things. So let me see if I can share this screen again. It says sharing screens is easier with two monitors, and I bet they're right. So this is the tab that I'm going to share, this Talk Real Estate. This is the subreddit that I created, and this little icon right there is the icon that I created for myself. I think it's pretty accurate. It even let me put a book in my hand, which I was very proud of. So, so far, what I've done is, because as you can see, there are currently only 3 members. So I'm going to kindly ask you to join that if you're a fan of using Reddit. I had no idea about Reddit until recently. And man, I really enjoyed it. There are a few much larger threads about like real estate investing and home improvement that I also thought were super helpful. So rather than, recreate the wheel, let's just join it together. So I have on the other threads. So like right here, it says that I cross posted this. What I said was, this is a great idea, probably the easiest way to start building a portfolio. And that's because in this other thread, real estate investing, somebody asked about buying a primary residence every year to quickly build a real estate investing portfolio. And I think that is a great idea. So he says that, has anyone ever bought a primary residence primarily for the lower down payment requirements, better financing rates, and rented it out after living in it for the required year and repeated that process 3, 4, or 5 times? My goal is to build a portfolio of buy and hold properties relatively quickly, leveraging long-term fixed rate debt, which is a fantastic idea, by the way. I know we've discussed that several times here on this channel. And, depending on the market, because I'm in the Midwest, I often talk about properties that cash flow heavily, but I also understand that the vast majority parts of the nation, especially if you live in a higher market, then, he says he has no illusions that these would even cash flow right away, nor would these be our only investments. We already max out our retirement accounts. This got squared away. Let's see here, see what I said, because I know I responded to this. So my response is, this is a fantastic idea. I know several people that are doing this. I think this is the best way to build a portfolio, especially when you're young and don't have kids or a wife that's tired of moving, which obviously is my situation. As another user mentioned, I think if you do multifamilies, the cash flow is greater. You can get a conventional owner-occupied loan on 1 to 4 unit properties. Oh yeah, I said also you will not go to jail, because someone said that somebody said that you would probably go to jail at some point, which just isn't true. I think the method is common and also super smart. Loan officers like this too. As you learned last week, my brother is a loan officer, and a lot of the referral or repeat business comes from realtors that refer their new home buyers to loan officers. I think it's pretty unique to real estate investors when a loan officer actually has like a repeat client. So all that to say, there's a lot of information here on Reddit, and being biased and all, I think that this thing that I created is going to be tons of fun at some point once we get the member count up and a little bit more communication. Until then, each time I come across something interesting, I'm going to go ahead and post it, cross-post it here, and also share the new videos that I post. So it'll be tons of fun. And I have been looking for quite some time a platform where we can be a little bit more conversational. I get the YouTube comments are great, but a lot of times it's just so hard to keep track of comments, especially if they are on older videos. I don't know. I don't think the YouTube app is the best for like back and forth conversation. Other people chiming in and searching through the comments on videos isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do for like a conversational basis. If you're watching a video and want to know what other people say about it, sure. And if you have like one particular question, then I could answer it there as well. But for the most part, I was really looking for a way to communicate with everyone a lot easier and have more of a conversational, researched conversation. And a lot of the social media platforms I strongly dislike. I don't like being bombarded. If I click on one thing, I don't want to see like 50 more of things similar. And really, a lot of the social media platforms just feel like, you know, they're really trying to take over your brain and hijack all of your attention. And I just don't like that feeling. So I think Reddit is not that way. You only look at things that you're interested in. And ultimately, I think this particular way of communication is really going to allow the subscribers of this YouTube channel to get a lot more value, again, for free, by communicating with other people that are, you know, like-minded, similar, and really just kind of navigate any question that you have, getting a lot of feedback. And also the other users, the other subscribers of the channel can weigh into once the member count goes up. So that's all I've got for today on that. And good morning to you, Tolu. Yes, I did have a great week. Let me stop this screen share. Yeah, we had a fantastic week. My brother and I went to Gatlinburg with our families, and on the last day, we were visited by a bear. So it was very traumatic for my brother's wife. She was actually loading up all of their stuff, to include the cooler, and she was in the back of the van loading it up, and a bear opened up the side door to the van and came right in. So she very much so quickly ran back to the house, and then we had to figure out how to, get the bear away from our cabin. He was a cute sucker, probably about 2 years old. I don't know. I don't know anything about bears, but I've showed the pictures to a lot of people that I guess do know a lot about bears, and in several different conversations, they guessed that it was like about 2 years old. So that was fun. We had a great week, fun times. And on the real estate side of things, really not much. Our project manager that we hired, he starts on Monday, and that should give us a lot more latitude to look for additional deals, go out and raise more private capital. Again, from friends and family, secured by first position mortgages. So hopefully, and we're also working on another big refinance that should close in early September. So that would be really fun, and that would allow us to do like an additional leg up on property acquisitions, because once we pay off a lot of the first position mortgage holders, they're very much so interested in lending that money to us again, which is really the main catalyst in our growth. So last year, we started the year with 38 properties. That was 2020. This year, we started the year with 80 properties. And I think that those were both pretty well documented here on YouTube, because I started this YouTube channel like March or April of 2020. So that was tons of fun. And then right now, we are currently right at about 140 properties, give or take, a couple. So we did a big refinance in January, which, gave us somewhere like right around $1 million to go spend and reallocate that money again on first position mortgages, which is how we were able to go from 80 to 140 so quickly. So the similar thing will happen, except this refinance is a lot bigger. So we're looking forward to getting through that and then breaching this 200 property mark. So it's been tons of fun. Absolutely tons of fun. Happy Friday. Wanted to ask, do you find yourself doing more off-market or on-market deals? It goes absolutely back and forth. I would say it's probably an equal 50-50 split. We recently purchased a package of 20 properties, and we found those via the MLS, so they were on market. We did negotiate the price down, but not much. I mean, it was a good deal. I think it was very, very fairly priced. And so that was 20 units that we purchased on market. We do have a package of 11 properties that we we've agreed to terms, but we haven't like actually signed any contract yet. That was off market. And I would say for the most part this year, a lot of our properties have been from, we work with one realtor who really keeps his eyes and ears out for us on properties that might fit our criteria. And a lot of those have been on the MLS. But yeah, I think the more I think about it, I really think it's 50-50. Good morning, MIH Nation. That's an awesome username. Don't know what it stands for, but I'm happy you're here. I have not seen your username pop up yet, so welcome. Super happy to have you here. Dennis Burns, how do you feel about balloon mortgages? I don't mind them. Most of our first position mortgages from friends and family members do have balloon payments associated with them, generally after about 2 or 3 years, which is fine because part of our business model is getting a lot of mortgages that are interest only at first, getting a bulk of those together and then refinancing with a traditional bank, traditional lender. So that's part of our business model, is to work with loans that do have balloon payments. I don't think that we have any of our commercial loans. They do not have balloon payments yet, but I wouldn't be opposed to it, especially if it was after like 10 years. 10 years is tons of time to pay down equity, allow the properties to appreciate, and it would probably be most prudent to refinance at that point anywho. So balloon mortgages really don't bother me. I think they're probably a good idea. All right. So we're 20 minutes in. We've got 9 people on the call. Thank you all for being here. Super pumped. As you already know, any questions you might have, go ahead and post them in the chat. Happy to answer them. And let me go ahead and create another banner that has this Reddit, this pinned message there. So Talk Real Estate, that's a new subreddit thread that I created. It currently has 4, that's right, 4 members. If you would kindly join this subreddit so that we could keep this question and answer real estate train rolling, that would make me pretty happy. Huge fan of Reddit, huge fan. Let's see, man. Let me try and figure out some other things I can catch you guys up on or talk about while we're waiting on these questions to roll in. Reading a really good book at the moment. I'm about halfway through it. It's called Anti-Fragile by a guy named Nassim. That's his first name. I don't know how to say that name. Let me see what his last name is really quickly. Anti-Fragile. I don't know. But hey, I think it's the only book called Anti-Fragile, so that should help. Oh, we've also got a few more people that have joined the mastermind, seek-wisdom.com/join. So there are a couple of vacancies, or a couple of open vacancies. There are a couple open seats in the Monday group. Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time is when that mastermind meets. And there is a YouTube video If you search my channel for Seek Wisdom Mastermind, or all of YouTube for Seek Wisdom Mastermind, it should pop up. And that's a really fun community. There's a lot of success happening there, a lot of fun. In the Monday group, there's a guy that has close to 100 doors that's not me, and he just put 70 plus units under contract in one package. He's in the group. He's got tons of advice and wisdom to share. Unlike us, who we are growing so quickly via pretty aggressive loans at high interest rates, he has acquired them slowly over a decade plus, and has just done one at a time as he's been able to. And he is often, when we're providing advice, a really good kind of balance to the aggressive side that Will and I take, where some people on the call aren't interested in being as aggressive. So there's another guy that has 1 unit, another guy that has 9 that is about to close on another 2. So he's about to pass that super important threshold of 10 properties. And as you're familiar on this YouTube channel, I often say that like the first 10 properties are probably most important. Like as soon as you start real estate investing, I think you should be in like an absolute race to get to 10 properties. At that point, you start playing like the law of averages, the law of large numbers, and the properties kind of are able to sustain themselves. So that's pretty exciting. And there's also a guy in the Monday group that's very focused on lending money, and he's doing pretty well. He's got a goal to lend a certain amount of funds. Let's see here. Oh, Ski, what's up, man? I'm happy to see you on here. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for being on here, man. I was down in Durham a while back. I was looking for you, but I don't think I ever actually called you. Sorry, man. I'm going to call you later today, though. I sure do miss you. For a beginner with the real estate changing, where do you think I should start? Well, real estate is always changing, but one of the cool things about real estate investing is Will and I, we own a duplex that was built in the 1800s, late 1800s, but it was built as a duplex. So it has been a cash flowing asset since the 1800s, which is really crazy to think about. So real estate has been a reliable and at this point, pretty permanent business model for a lot of people for a very long time. So I think if you have your long-term goggles on, then real estate investing is one of the most foolproof businesses that you can get into. And I think it's really hard to mess up, again, if you have your long-term goggles on. So if you are trying to, do some like super short-term gains, then real estate might not be the best vehicle for that. But, over the long term, especially when you consider the tax benefits as it's currently written into the tax code, appreciation, which on average is about 4% per year, which is, historically the rate of inflation has been 3.22% per year. So real estate appreciates on average around 0.8% greater than the inflation, which is solid. So if just from those numbers alone, real estate is a better store of cash than cash. Let's see what else about real estate. The cash flow and then the principal pay down if you choose to leverage it. So I often say that I'm not a fan of just sitting on the sidelines. I would never advise anyone do that, whether the market is up, whether the market is down. I highly suggest that you get involved in real estate investing. If you were to talk about any other investments like the stock market or whatever else, a lot of people want to talk about dollar cost averaging, which is if you have $1,000 to invest, rather than put it all in at one time, invest $100 per month over the next 10 months or something like that. I don't think it would be prudent to give any other advice to real estate investing. If the market is up, go ahead and buy properties. However, make sure that you're staying in a stable enough position to where when the market corrects, you're still going to be able to buy properties. So if you are about to spend all of the capital that you have available to you, then, while you purchase the property in an up market, if that's what you believe that we're in, then you need to kind of be racing against the market to acquire enough funds to purchase another property when the market starts to correct itself. So when we first got started in real estate investing, which was like August of 17, I believe. Yep, August of 17. Then, at the time, all of the podcasts that we were listening to, everybody was speculating that the housing crash was about to occur. They thought that, housing prices were starting to get overextended and whatnot. And hey, they still may be right. But at the same time, my whole point is if we listened to that information, then we never would have gotten started. We're currently at like 140 doors. So, give or take. We wouldn't have that if we were waiting on the market to correct before we invested. So now we're in a position where if the market corrects, we're still going to be acquiring properties. So when we first got started, I know this is crazy numbers for a lot of the market, but when we first got started, our average all-in price was between $30,000, $35,000, and $45,000. I will say that has creeped up now to about $50,000 to $60,000, and that's our all-in price. So the purchase price plus the rehab costs, we're looking at $50,000 to $60,000. When we started, it was $35,000 to $45,000, and if it goes up, there's still enough flex in those numbers for us to make that work. And if it goes down, of course, we'll be able to benefit as well. And while you're on that train of thought, I'm only halfway through the book that I just mentioned, but it's called Anti-Fragile, and I'm a huge fan of it. In a nutshell, so far, what I'm gathering is anti-fragile is not synonymous with resilient, but instead anti-fragile benefits from volatility. And I think that is, as a real estate investor, something that we should always keep top of mind is how do we benefit from any volatility that may be present in the housing market? Although if you were to really pin me down and have me talk about some deep philosophy, I would be very likely to say that there isn't, in fact, volatility in the housing market, but rather there's volatility in the financial instruments that are used inside of the housing market. I don't think that the actual value of the home ever changes, but the amount of whatever financial instruments used to acquire those property is in fact what changes. There's a pretty cool metric out there. How much gold does it take to purchase a property? So it takes like the average price of gold against the average price of a house. And that number remains surprisingly consistent. So just something to think about if you ever have insomnia and want to think about something like that. Brett, good morning, Ryan. I just found your channel this week and I'm very thankful for all your help. I have lots of questions. Awesome. So without because this is new to me and I'm so excited about it and I want to connect with more people a lot more regularly from this channel, I'm going to kindly ask you to go ahead and join the Reddit that we created, the subreddit. It is called reddit.com/r/talkrealestate because, hey, at the end of the day, that's all I really want to do. So let's talk some real estate together. Let's see. We started the morning with 3 members. Let me share this screen. Oops. There we go. Talk real estate. This is what the little logo, I did not make that. I just picked a few things on Reddit. And as you can see, we are already at 4 members. That's like what, 30% growth already? Wow. We're moving. We are going places. So right now, what I'm doing is just cross-posting a lot of the other content that I find on Reddit, just to get this thing kickstarted so that as soon as you join, you're not bored. Whenever I see a good question asked on Reddit, I will also post the videos that I release because why not, right? And at some point, once this member count increases, we're going to have a lot of fun talking about real estate together collectively. So that'll be tons of fun. So go ahead and join that, buddy. And thanks for finding the channel. I'm super duper pumped that you are here and hope you stick around and talk about a lot of real estate and ask all the questions that you have. Super happy to help. How do you feel about all the economy crash talk, and how do you think it will affect the real estate market? I don't know. This book that I'm reading right now called Anti-Fragile, you should really read it. It's kind of blowing my mind. I'm having a ton of fun reading it. I have not yet heard this take on life yet, so I think that's what I'm getting such a thrill out of it, because at a certain point when you are reading books, especially in the same genre, you kind of start hearing the same things over and over. This guy has a fresh perspective. And one of the things that he points out in this book is we have just like a natural subconscious bias towards planning on the future based on things that have happened in the past, which is an unreliable way of doing things. So, one of the things that he pointed out was like the last crash was significantly worse than the previous crash. So one could presume that this next crash is going to be much more significant than this previous one. So I don't know how it's going to pan out. Sure, there is a possibility that we lose everything, right? There's nothing that we can do to prevent that because we don't necessarily know what is going to happen. But we can try and plan on ways to become, more stable. We can work on kind of backup plans, whatever those might be. I don't know. But, acknowledging that it could happen, kind of making peace with it and figuring out how would you rebuild, how would you kind of make the most of it. I think one of the mentors that I did a video on this a while back called the Recession Proof Mindset, I believe. And I think about this often because, as I think it's just natural for us to think worst case scenario and kind of get wrapped up in all of these like negative what ifs. So and again, I'm going to butcher this. I made a video about it like very shortly after we had the conversation because I thought it was, so good and I didn't want to butcher it. So I'm probably going to do that now, but please go watch the video. It's very short. But I mean, the few questions that you have to ask yourself, like, are you still able, like, do people still exist? Do they still have needs? If the answer is yes, then does the government still allow privately owned businesses to meet those needs? If the answer is yes, then, hey, as an entrepreneur, you're still in business. As an investor, there's still opportunity for you to make money. So those are the things that I kind of fall back on whenever I kind of go down that rabbit trail of making money, making progress, creating wealth, acquiring assets. We might have to pivot, but it's likely still going to be a possibility. You just have to be malleable enough to kind of pivot as necessary. Hope that's helpful. 17 people on the chat. I am super pumped. So it would mean the world to me if all of you just simultaneously join this little subreddit so that we could talk about real estate together. And, conveniently, it's called Talk Real Estate. Very convenient. Thanks. It's the abbreviation for Make It Happen. I'm in South Florida. Have you done any virtual deals? If so, where did you start? I have done no virtual deals. However, my role model, my business partner, and one of my personal heroes, my brother, also lives in Florida. And he does a lot of deals virtually because all of our properties are here in Ohio. So he was on this live stream with me last week. He's likely going to come on several more times here in the future. So I think he would have better input on that than I would. I do, I'm here where our portfolio is as well. So I have no experience in this realm. The insurance agency that I have, we do insure a lot of out-of-state investors. And I would say the ones that are very successful have a fantastic relationship with their property managers, with their contractors. They have a open line of communication that they foster, and they regularly visit the properties. So I think regularly visiting the properties is probably the biggest variable in making sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. If work is said to be done, make sure you actually go out and inspect it, or make sure that you're happy with the quality. Vision One Visuals. No problem. Thank you for listening. Hey man, I'm happy to see you back. What are your thoughts on storage units? I think I want some. So I actually spent a lot of time talking to my wife about this, and my brother about this as well. So if you are thinking about them, then let's talk. There is some land in an area that I would like to put a storage unit. So don't know where to start, don't know how to do it, but I would like to do it. I think it would be pretty fun to offer like discounted storage units to our residents. I think it would be a fantastic tool to head off and proactively prevent, clustered yards, or even potentially, hoarding issues that you may have with certain people that rent properties from you. And I also very selfishly am trying to put some in an area where, hey, conveniently, it would also be a fantastic place to store all of our building materials and equipment. So, yeah, there's definitely a need for them in Dayton, I would say. The only ones that I know of that are inside the city limit, and again, I'm probably wrong on this, but just in driving around, the only ones that I've seen inside of the city limits of Dayton have been right in downtown on Main Street, that little U-Haul place. So I'm sure there are some on the east side I just don't know about. But yeah, I would love to talk about that more. And I would very happily discuss, everything related to that. But it's also one of those things, man, as excited as I am sitting here thinking about it, I have read Gary Keller's The One Thing so many times. I definitely suffer from like the shiny object squirrel syndrome. And I think, we've got a really good thing going. We've got a lot of systems in place to handle and sustain our current single family home business model. And the thought of deviating before our current business model is 100% bulletproof is a little bit frightening. So as much as I want to get into storage units, I think it'd be most prudent that I get what we're currently doing 100% buttoned up before we go out on another venture that could potentially bite big. Yeah, let's definitely talk. Reddit group join. Awesome. If I ask too many questions, let me know. No, you're golden, man. A lot of the people that are on this have been coming for a pretty long time. So sometimes the questions really dry up. But hey, regardless, I think you can't ask too many questions. Yep, the Reddit group is up to 5 members. Man, that's exciting. And I also think this is going to be a really awesome platform to, in the downtime of these live streams, when the live viewers don't have any questions, we can, refer to the subreddit and then discuss and pick out, the best questions throughout the past week. So really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. We never left acquisition mode. Maybe we did for a little bit, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We often say that we are not acquiring more properties, but it's kind of not real. We get back to it pretty quickly. So yeah, I think we've got 12 or 13 under contract at the moment. Yeah, we're definitely acquiring. Do you invest in foreclosures that are occupied? If so, how do you estimate the potential pitfalls, i.e. having to evict damage from spiteful tenants? So In theory, foreclosures should not be occupied. If they are occupied, then the sheriff should remove them prior to transferring the deed. I know I have insured a couple of properties where it was still owner occupied and purchased on the foreclosure, but I'm unclear as to whether it was only occupied after they won the bid but didn't yet have the deed, or if it was occupied after they had the deed and then they had to follow like another eviction process. I really don't know. If that is a real thing, then it's so few and far between that I think it would be pretty difficult to establish a system around. I, haven't heard of it too frequently, and I don't think it's something that anyone really specializes in, just kind of deals with as they come across. However, I would say that almost any foreclosure, you're going to have damaged property due to like spiteful occupants. So just kind of by nature, having your property forcibly seized from you is not a very pleasurable experience. So people, take it out on the property. I think we once bought a foreclosed property that the previous occupant smeared peanut butter all over the walls and the stairwell and whatnot. That was strange. So, I think, regardless of whether it's occupied or not occupied, one of the most difficult things about foreclosures is the fact that you don't have access to the interior, and legally you're not supposed to go in. I've heard of some investors going in. I have never done that. I have too much of a guilty conscience. I like being overly upright. So I would not suggest doing that. So it's all speculation. I would say just go ahead and prepare for the worst and act like you're going to replace everything and base your numbers accordingly. I guess you could go around the exterior and figure out all of the deferred maintenance on the exterior and budget for that. But I would almost certainly assume that it needs a new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring, new paint. I would probably not assume that it needs new electric, and I probably would not assume that it needs like new subfloor or like structural things or framing or anything like that, unless you wanted to like remove walls and stuff. But that would be pretty hard to tell if you don't have access to the interior. I guess I would also assume that the plumbing and mechanicals should be updated as well. You would be able to see the condition the central air unit is in if it's staying with the property. Only once have we purchased a property that just legitimately did not have a furnace that was a foreclosure. Whoever it was took the furnace with them. I think that's a bizarre thing to take with you, but if you just replaced it before you got evicted, then I could see how one would be inclined to take that with them. Man, that was it. I guess I bounced around a little bit on the questions. So yeah, Brett, great questions. And hey, keep asking those in the subreddit too. Let's keep talking about it. Let me refresh this to see how many. We're at 6 people. We started the morning with 3. We have grown officially by 100%. That is bananas. Beside myself in excitement. I know you can tell. Really jazzed up about that. Can't wait for this thread to just be a absolute source of all things real estate related. Also looking forward to connecting with all of you a lot more frequently. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Tons of fun. Let's see. What is the smallest amount of cash flow per month per unit that you feel comfortable with? $100, $200, $500? That is a pretty awesome question. Good work on asking that. Never been asked that. Don't mind being asked that. We really shoot for that $200 mark. We want to be as close to that as possible. However, we do analyze our properties twice. So our business model revolves around getting first position mortgages from friends and family at 10 to 12% interest only for 2 to 3 years. We have every intention of refinancing the property inside of that 2 to 3 year window, generally as fast as we can. We do have a self-imposed prepayment penalty if we pay that off within the first 12 months, just to make sure that we make it worth their time and we're not allocating their money, having them sign paperwork, giving it right back to them, having them sign more paperwork. So that's generally about 3% of the borrowed amount, that prepayment penalty, which, comes out to be about 3 months, because 12% is 1% per month. So while we have short-term leverage on the property, that 2 to 3 year interest only payment, we're down to get pretty low if it's a good deal. So we analyze it on how it would cash flow with financing like that. And then we analyze it again to figure out how much it's going to cash flow once we get long-term financing on top of that asset. So if it's a really good deal, especially if it's a high equity deal, we're down to even be in the negatives for a little bit while we are in that interest only. So I'm not talking like hundreds of dollars. I'm saying, I think the most outrageous one that we ever did was like negative $100 per month from a cash flow perspective. And that's when we bought it occupied with lower rents and whatnot. Generally, I would say on average, the lowest that we really go is about $50 of cash flow per month while we are in that interest only high interest short-term loan period. But once we restructure it and get that long-term finance on, then $200 is generally our minimum. And that is including the capital expenditures, repairs, maintenance, and all of that, and the management fee that we charge ourselves. So even though we self-manage, we do charge ourselves that 10% fee because it just makes sense. Yeah, that's a really good question. But yeah, for our business model, it's that. I would say if you're not utilizing that short-term debt option, then, anything under 200, you want to make sure that you've got some good uses for that property. What NOI are you averaging per door? Probably right around that $200 mark. I mean, that's after the mortgages as well. So we don't really calculate the NOI pre-mortgage in the traditional commercial sense. Do you expect to see any changes with the recent end of the moratorium? And are you doing anything to prepare for this? I've seen a lot of questions about that on Reddit as well. And I got to say, man, I really think that I'm not trying to get political. I'm not trying to, whatever. But I mean, just the way that our infrastructure here in America is designed is the federal government can kind of say things however they want to and pass things on a federal level. But I mean, the states and then the municipalities have a decent amount of latitude to handle their business however they see fit. And generally, people don't comply with these federal things until the federal government starts threatening to take funding or start taking away its resources from the states or the municipalities before it's actually upheld. I know some states are going ahead and doing whatever the moratorium says, but it's really up to the state and then the municipality that's actually handling the evictions to do however they want. So right now I live in an area where the moratorium is like not really in effect. Like we have done several evictions over the past couple of months. So, from my vantage point, from the experience that I have, this federal moratorium is kind of a for show thing and not necessarily applied here. In the same breath, I will also say that in all of the property owners that I know, the only people that are getting evicted at the moment are the ones that, for whatever reason, are being non-compliant or just overall kind of silly. Because right now there are just so many nonprofits and community programs that are paying rent on behalf of residents that are affected by everything going on. So there's really no reason to not pay your rent at the moment. All of our residents that have lost their jobs have been able to find employment elsewhere. I mean, everywhere that I've been locally, even when we went on our little vacation in Gatlinburg, I mean, everywhere has now hiring signs around it. A lot of the restaurants are taking modified hours just because they can't find people. So I think when push comes to shove, most people will be able to be gainfully employed if they so choose. Obviously, this is being broadcast out to the internet. Everybody's situations are individual. I made a blanket statement, but clearly it's not applicable to all cases. So, whatever. Salvation Army, they're paying people's rents. And a lot of the programs that are paying people's rents, it's not like they're just paying 1 month. I mean, they're given like 4 to 5 months of a window of rent. Like we just got a check yesterday that was for July through October. I don't know how many months that is. School is hard. But yeah, I would say whatever federal moratorium this thing is affects different areas differently. Very helpful statement. All right, let's see. Here is, oops. I'm going to go ahead and plug this one more time since there are 12 people on here. Reddit.com/r/talk real estate. That's a subreddit that we've created to continue the conversation all throughout the week. So any real estate questions that you might have, not only will I be more than happy to answer them, but hey, here slowly, there's already 6 people in this group. We're going places. We started the morning with 3, and before too long, we're going to have so many real estate investing experts in there to provide their opinion that you're just going to be blown away. Anything you could ever be curious about, people in there are going to want to talk about. Hence the name of the thread, Talk Real Estate. That's what we're going to do. Super pumped about it. In the meantime, feel free to post your questions in this here chat. Oh no, my disclaimer has been off this entire time. There we go. The disclaimer's back on. I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know a lot. What kind of team do you recommend having prior to buying a foreclosure? Contractor, roofer, plumber, lawyers, property management, real estate agent, HVAC, electrician, inspector. You really listed out the full gambit. When it comes to buying a foreclosure, what people I think you should have. I mean, if you don't know, if you're not confident in your ability to just kind of eyeball the amount of work that's necessary, I mean, unless you had a good relationship with the contractor, I don't think it would be a very fruitful thing to take the contractor with you by the property. You're not really supposed to be, on the property. You don't have access to the interior. The contractor probably wouldn't give you a definite quote because you don't have access to the interior, but I would definitely suggest talking to a couple of contractors and just ballparking based on square footage, how much would it cost to do paint, flooring, kitchen, bath? And generally, you're going to be able to ascertain just from the exterior and from the amount of information that's available to you via like Zillow or the auditor, how much square footage that would be and how many bathrooms there are. So that would be good. I really don't think many people are needed. As soon as you close on the property, you should definitely get some sort of vacant insurance. If you're taking the property in an LLC, if you're doing it kind of in cash, and you have the ability to deed the property into an LLC, then you should probably, talk to an attorney to help you get that established. But I mean, by and large, I think the most important thing when it comes to foreclosures is just having a good network of people around you that have experience in this area. So if you are able to network with other real estate investors, especially ones in your market that have purchased foreclosures, that kind of have some war stories and some things that they've learned from their experiences that you can learn prior to buying your first foreclosure, then I think that would probably be the most valuable thing. All the other things that you listed, contractors, I mean, that's always going to be tough. An attorney, I don't know how they could help outside like forming your LLC. You're going to want to, run a title search on the property once you have the winning bid, and a title company would be able to do that. And the title company would also be willing to provide, title insurance on that property. So I would definitely do that just in case the foreclosure process missed anything. You don't want to be held liable for that. So a good title company that you trust and have, some business with, an attorney if you need to start an LLC, and then I would say a list of contractors that you could ask to walk the property with you once you gain access. And other than that, just a good network of other real estate investors that would be down to talk to you and answer any questions that you might have. And hey, not being cocky or anything, but maybe the subreddit has some room there. Who did you use, or how did you draft paperwork for lease agreements? So I'm sure this is not the ideal way to do it, but we used a property management company for the first like 60 properties that we had, and we reached a point where it just kind of made sense for us to take that in-house. At that point, when we took it in-house, we stayed in, good relations with the property management company that we used, and we really just copy and pasted their lease. Now, we have since sent it to an attorney to make sure that, nothing crazy was in there. But by and large, we just copy and pasted it. Why reinvent the wheel when you've already got something proven? And since we have leased out properties with them before, it's not like we were doing anything differently. We just changed it from, their logo to our logo and all the appropriate company names and all of that. So we actually use the same property management software, which is Appfolio. So we just loaded their template into our software and just kept it moving. So I do my very best to not go reinventing wheels that don't need to be reinvented, especially if there's, a good relationship and high trust, and it's been, double checked by real attorneys and whatnot. Can you not run title search on a property before you win it? You shouldn't run title on a property before you win it. You should only run title after you win. No need to pay for title searches on potential properties. And I know that every place is different, but I would say that at least here in Montgomery County, if you win a property at an auction and the title does not come back clear, you can back out. I think that's the only valid reason that you have to back out of a property after you win. So yeah, A good title company should be able to guide you through that process. I use the same title company all of the time, and generally whenever I'm purchasing properties. So here in Ohio, the buyer, they're the ones that pay for the title and whatnot. They're always the ones that are able to pick what title company. Sometimes realtors or wholesalers or whoever else will try to kind of strong arm me to use their title company because like a title search has already been done. But I don't really play that game. I always close at the title company that I want to close at, even if it means the seller's closing at one title company and me closing at another. I just prefer to have all the title insurances and my entire portfolio with having been closed through one title company. It just makes things a lot easier. It prevents me from having to send operating agreements and all of that multiple times. I just get to send it once. The title company, they know how to get a hold of me. They, especially since we have, a decent amount of private investors and do work with like self-directed IRAs on behalf of people and whatnot, it just makes it a lot easier, a lot more convenient if you just get in good with one title company, form a fantastic relationship, and do everything through them. That's another thing that I don't really think many people say, but yeah, title company is your choice. Any important amendments you've added to your master lease agreement, perhaps that you wish you had when starting? We have never supplied appliances for our people. So one of the amendments that we have recently added, because, if there is an appliance in a property and it looks to be decent, and I say that loosely, like if it looks like it was manufactured inside the 2000s, we don't throw it away. We just leave it. If it works, great. If not, great. Just throw it away. We will even throw it away on behalf of the person moving in if it doesn't look like an appliance that they want. However, on several occasions, we have said that up front, but then it has just created kind of a headache afterwards because even though we've said it, even though they've acknowledged it, they at some point put in a work order saying the stove isn't working or something. So we have actually added the let me just reread it. Addendum to the lease saying that we are not supplying any appliances. Any appliances that may be in the house are not warranted by us and will not be maintained by us. So just felt good to get that in there because that's one of the more common things that we run into, just because we don't throw them away if they look to be usable. We leave it up to the discretion of the person moving in, whether or not they want us to throw it away or not, which, 10 times out of 10, they ask us not to throw it away. Let's see here. What other addendums have we done? I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's about it. All right. We've reached the bottom of the comments section. So, hey, we've got 14 people on. If you haven't already, please go join that subreddit called Talk Real Estate. Let's see. We started the morning with 6 people, and now we have 6. But hey, 100% growth is good growth. If we did this every day, hey, tomorrow we would have 12. That would be fun. How many properties would be easy, moderate, hard to close on in your first year? Is having these goals helpful, or is it better just to focus on only getting a good deal? Goals are good. Goals motivate people. I don't necessarily think that a number of property goals is necessary for your first year. I think establishing a good network of other real estate investors, like really laying the foundation, getting comfortable with all of the moving parts inside of real estate investing, educating yourself, surrounding yourself with good people. I already said that, but it's really important. And kind of, getting all of your systems in place, like the QuickBooks, getting just learning how to go through the motions of everything related to properties. And, depending on what your long-term goals are, if you just want to make $5,000 of cash flow per month so that you never have to work if you don't want to, that's fundamentally different than, I want to have 500 properties, by the time I retire, right? So those would be completely different. The steps you would take to achieve either of those, fundamentally different. So, I think regardless, at first, maybe your systems should look similar because, if you just want $5,000 per month, you don't want this to be your full-time gig, probably. So you should set up some sort of communications system that doesn't leave you on the phone or your residents, texting you specifically, at all times of, the night if anything goes wrong. You definitely want to have a system in place to handle requests at any given hour. And then you also want to be very clear and provide some sort of documentation to your residents about, what they should do when things happen, how you want them to file work orders, how you want them to pay rent. You should think through all of those things and present it in a way that is best for you. So that's what I would say. I don't think I would recommend any sort of property goal, even though looking back on it, I've probably had a property goal. That's not true. When I first started, I don't think I had any concept of how many properties I wanted to have. I think I more so just had a passive income, how much money I needed to make, to maintain my living expenses goal in mind. So yeah, I would say when you're just getting into real estate, I mean, it could be one of those things that you get into it and you realize you don't like it that much. You don't like the problems associated with having single family homes or smaller unit multifamilies or whatever facet of real estate investing you get into. One gentleman I know, he started off in the Airbnb vacation rentals and learned after a couple of years of doing it, he just does not like the problems associated with it. And now he is a long-term rental buy and hold type investor. And that seems to suit him a lot better. And the stress levels are a lot lower for him. So I think all facets of real estate investing come with different problems, and you just have to figure out which problems you prefer to have. So I would just spend a lot of time in your first year getting, thinking big, planning big, and putting together exactly what you want out of life and how you're going to use real estate as a tool to achieve those things. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're all doing it. Just to use this as a tool for us to kind of live the lifestyle and provide for our families in a manner that we would be proud of and happy about whenever we so pass. Did I get too dark at the end? Nah, that's what it's all about. Generational wealth, that's a buzzword. I mean, leaving things after you die. It's not generational if you're just planning for you. Death has to be in the picture, right? Yeah, just a course of life. 17 people on the chat. Hey, it would be great if 17 people joined this Reddit thread. I'm done plugging it for a while. You guys know where it is. But at the same time, it's also pinned in the chat. You need to click it and join. Oh man. Yeah, Brett, you're on it, man. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. See, this is why the channel is so fun. You found me this week, and now I get to answer all of the questions that you've had for who knows how long. This is exciting. This is very exciting for me. This is exactly why we're doing it. And another one. You're on a roll, man. Keep them coming. I hope you serve as motivation for the other 17 people on the call that have not asked any questions. So hey, fire them at me. This is fun. And if you don't want to ask them here, then you could also ask them on the subreddit. Drats. I just said I was done plugging it. Do you have a checklist of things that you look to rehab when you first evaluate a new property? Cabinets, counters, floors, paint, water heater, HVAC, etc. Um, sort of like yes and no. At this point, I haven't been too good at it. We just hired our project manager. He actually starts on Monday, and he is going to really whip us into shape on this aspect. We're going to have like a scope of work that we walk through, and really we want a very itemized, very tight scope of work for all of the properties that we do. Because I, am a person with many weaknesses and even fewer strengths. Organization and whatnot is one of my weaknesses. So for me, honestly, what I would do is I would go through and take entirely too many pictures. If I found something to be concerning, if the water heater looked to be ancient, if the plumbing was galvanized, I would do my own pseudo inspection and take pictures. And then, I would make a mental note using my notes app on the phone of anything that I thought needed to be replaced. And I would just ballpark it, $5,000 for a kitchen, $3 per square foot for flooring, paint. That's always really depends on who you get to do that, how much they'll charge. I think that's the thing that varies the most in price. You can spend a lot of money on paint, or you could not spend that much money on paint. Really up to you. And, a lot of the properties that we purchase, they're around the 100-year-old mark. So if there is any trim in place, it's already been painted over hundreds of times. So it already, if it had detail in the woodwork at one point, it doesn't anymore. It's just like a weird looking curve because of all the layers of paint. So I'm really not too concerned on how straight those paint lines are on that trim. So no reason to get a super awesome, no reason to get a great job on the paint. Kind of run of the mill standard stuff, in my opinion. So I'm a little bit more loosey-goosey just as I walk through. I make a massive Google photo album. Generally, when I walk through a property, I take about 70 to 80 photos. All the rooms, all the ceilings, all the floors, the cabinets, all the hardware, the vanity, the tub, and then just go back and assess. Definitely like the plumbing, any sort of like outlets, electrical, you can generally see those. We're taking pictures of the walls and the floor and the ceiling, light fixtures and all that. I mean, as soon as we really get everything smooth and running with our project manager, I'm more than happy to share the template for the scope of work that we start using, and the corresponding numbers that we budget for particular things. I think that would be a really, really helpful for everybody on the chat, and I don't mind sharing. Angel, good morning. I appreciate you being here. Cabinets are one of those things that we will try to save. Countertops. What we've been using a lot lately is butcher block. Home Depot and Lowe's both sells them. So we've just been throwing butcher blocks on kitchen cabinets. Looks pretty good. Generally white cabinets. Yeah. Cabinets can be saved. If they're like the original cabinets to the house, we generally save those because they're just so well built. But if they have already been replaced and they've experienced any sort of water damage, generally, it's kind of probably a little bit too late. No, it's never about the Lamborghini. Win Lambo. That template would be amazing. You should share that on the subreddit. Yeah, awesome. Oh, also, speaking of sharing things on the subreddit, I did, in fact, share. Let's see. I did share as a perk, not only because we passed the 10,000 subscriber mark on the YouTube channel, but also just to, promote the subreddit. Free resource, the Insurance for Real Estate Investors book that I wrote. You can click this link right here on the subreddit and download the copy of the book. So if you are a real estate investor and you had any question ever on insurance, then this book hopefully should answer it. So I also want to make very clear, I'm pretty much only good at writing insurance inside the state of Ohio. So chances are I do not want your insurance business. This is not a solicitation. At the end of every single chapter in this book, I say, if you want additional information, contact me at ryan@insuredbyingram.com. You don't have to do that. It's good information. So you should enjoy it. And it's no cost. Although I got to tell you, I make a decent amount of money on that book via Amazon. So this book, I make about $4 per month with this book. So it's a really good deal that you're getting it for free. Taking money straight out of my pocket. But the 6-member thing, we started at 3 this morning, and now we're at 6. 100% growth. That's what I'm talking about. 100%. So you're right, Brett. That template will be awesome to share. Another thing that I'm looking forward to sharing is one of the issues that we have had that we would like to get a better handle on is how to regularly inspect all of the properties that we have to make sure that the people that are living there are treating the houses very well. Because since, I am motivated by providing a certain type of lifestyle to my family and leaving a certain amount of wealth to my children, I do not want these properties to be destroyed over the course of our ownership of them. So we really want to partner with people that love the properties, respect the properties, and keep them in good order. But I haven't figured out a way that is not just excruciatingly labor intensive to do regular inspections on these properties. And I think, and I hope that we are very close to finding a solution for that. And once we do, I'm very excited to share that with you all as well. Yeah, man, that's very true. No, I'm thankful. I know I pose that in a weird way, but it varies. It varies. I think the first couple of months it was like $150 per month is what the book was going. But now that it's been out for a while, now that I seldom promote it, it's gone down to about $4 a month. This past month it was $10, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I've got no qualms. I often think to myself whenever I get those emails, because I did not publish through Amazon, even though that was the easiest. And the only reason that I did that was after I recently got burned by a couple of contractors. So I thought to myself, I'm not going to just publish on Amazon all willy-nilly. I'm gonna see who their competitors are. So I typed in like Kindle publishing alternatives, and one of the first names to come up was Ingram book publishing. Now, I have nothing to do with this, but I just could not resist the temptation to patronize an establishment with the name Ingram in it. So Ingram Spark is who I publish that book through. So each month when I get an Ingram Spark email letting me know about like the account receivables letter or something like that, remittance report, whatever they want to call it, I think to myself, man, if only I wrote about 10 to 15 books, this would be pretty solid. This would be a good thing. So I really enjoyed writing that book, and I would like to write several more. Just looking for the right moment in time to do so. Book downloaded. Awesome. Man, Brett, you're on fire. I'll tell you what, thoughts on renting to family friends? Does it make it harder to be objective? Probably cause more problems than they solve. I'm a very unique individual, Daniel. And it takes a lot of time for people to warm up to me and or like me. Which is why I'm really impressed that, this YouTube channel has a significant amount of subscribers. Granted, it was done over time. But yeah, I generally do not come off that well to additional people. And, the friends and family that I do have, I think they are very receptive to just my style of things. And one of my favorite quotes is, to be unclear is to be unkind. So one of my good friends, works kind of with / for me now. And he did so previously as well. It's kind of a running joke. I have, in my mind, I fired him previously. In his mind, he quit. But we're still good friends. And I think so long as you lay down the expectations on the front end and you are very clear about what it is, and you collectively put like some metrics in place that, if those metrics are not met, then X will happen. I think you're probably set. So that same guy, he rented a house from us for a little bit. We were both under the understanding that if he, if he couldn't pay, then he needed to let us know and move out. But at the same time, we also were fully prepared to evict him if necessary. So I would say, just from like the stoicism perspective, go ahead and think through worst case scenario and plan for that, and then be very, very clear with your friend or family member about what that plan of action will be. And then just kind of get comfortable with making that action if necessary. So just mentally walk through, evicting mom a couple of times. I don't know if you could ever prepare for that. But likely mom would move out first, right? Or your friend, whoever it is, just mentally walk through evicting them or sending them to collections. I don't think I'd go that far. Hopefully they would just move out without the eviction or the collections part. Although I did recently evict a lady that was one of our friends' daughters. And I told him and got his thoughts on what I should do prior to sending her to collections. So that happened. Winning a foreclosure auction from I win the bid to I own the house. Sure. I mean, it's pretty simple. So after you win the bid, the only thing that you really do is go up and put some sort of deposit with them. I think most times that has to be done immediately. So you write a check for the earnest money deposit, or whatever you want to call it, to the sheriff's office. The times that we do it, I mean, here, I think it's like $5 or $6 grand. You write that check, that kind of secures you having won the bid. And at that point, they give you like a little receipt. You take that receipt to the title company. I think you have like 2 weeks to come back with any sort of title issue that might be there. The title company runs the title search. I'm blanking on what it's called at the moment. They run the title search. They let you know once it's clear to close. Once it's clear to close, you just don't really say anything to whatever court you won the auction from. And then once everything is clear on their end, they notify you, and then you go in and pay the remaining balance. And then after you pay that remaining balance, they give you another receipt, and then they give you a little document that says, in X number of days, you should receive a deed to the property. And then, they say being on the property without the deed in your hand is trespassing, and, you could go to jail, all that good stuff. And then once that deed shows up in the mail, hey, you own the property. I would say, the right time to get insurance on it is whenever you have the deed. Here, what I have done is I've always just, on a daily basis, because mail takes longer than the internet, I would just check the auditor's website. And as soon as the deed transfers on the auditor's website, that's when I would go ahead and make that insurance policy active. But I would not go to the property until you actually have that deed. I think most of the law enforcement people that I know, like if you just pulled up the auditor's website and you were able to show your name or your LLC as the owner of that property and when it transferred, I think that's sufficient. But again, as that disclaimer is rolling, not not legal advice. Do you have a checklist for companies for background check, credit check, verification of not being previously evicted? Do you have a checklist of companies? A checklist of companies. No, we use Appfolio as our property management software. Appfolio has partnered with some sort of third-party person, and we do our entire application process and rental process through Appfolio. So we only use stuff that integrates with them. So it's a pretty seamless process. But they do the background check, the credit check, and the rental history check. They also just recently did they partnered with somebody that also now verifies the rental history. So right now we are attempting to do that ourselves, making contact with the previous property management companies or investment companies. So that's time consuming, and I think that's probably a valuable asset that Appfolio has integrated with their software. So I'm looking forward to looking into it in a little bit more detail. The residents of the house would have been evicted before the auction, correct? Yes. I think eviction is the wrong word, but the cool thing about our legal system is it does move slow, and there are a lot of steps in place. So it's not like whoever is living in the property could possibly ever be caught off guard by the process. There have been so many sheets of paper taped to their door. They've received so many letters from the bank or whoever the lien holder is. They've received so many letters from the sheriff's department, from, probably visits from deputies. I really don't know how that side works. But I know both banks and, the courts are generally the ones that are most required to over communicate. So generally, I think most people leave the properties by the time the actual auction is underway. And then I think if they don't, I think even more people leave by the time the bid is won, and then the sheriffs and the deputies do whatever it is that they have to do to legally kind of forcibly take ownership of that property on behalf of the lien holder or the new owner. Is there a point where the value of the house is too high to be a rental? How do you evaluate if there's a stable market demand for higher end single family homes with $2,000 a month rent or 25 or greater than 2,500 square foot? I don't live in an area where that's a real thing. So I've heard of some areas in certain parts having homes that are rented out for that much. I think the biggest house that we have is around 2,000 square foot, maybe lesser, but it's an older home. And I mean, the rent for that is, it's like right around $1,000, maybe like 11 or 1,200. Yeah, I don't think we would necessarily. I mean, I guess the first part of your question is easy to answer. And, a rule of thumb is we really want to be as close as possible to that 2% mark. So if we buy a property for $100,000, we want to rent it out for 2% of the purchase price. So that would be $2,000 per month. If you start talking about spending $200,000 on a property, well, that bad boy has to be able to rent out for $4,000 a month, and that likely won't be a real thing. So the higher up home you get, generally the lower the percentage. So if you were to buy like a $400,000 house, I think you would have a really hard time even hitting that 1% rule. So you might even be sub 1% on that property. Same with that $200,000 home. I want to say the nicest house that we purchased for $125,000, and it needed about $20,000 worth of work. It appraised for over $200,000, but it's rented out for $1,500. And I mean, the numbers still work on that one because it's above 1%. We were able to get some very favorable financing on that one. And since it was such a high equity deal and we were able to negotiate such a low property or purchase price, we thought it was worthwhile. We did it for the equity. Quite honestly, at that point, we were just making our strategy was going through the MLS, seeing all the properties that were listed for a really long time, and we were just making really, really low ball offers. Like that one in particular was listed at like 160, I think, and we offered 100 grand. I had no idea that Shaq even played for the Cavs. I guess that makes sense that he rented a house if he didn't think it was a very long-term thing for him. But yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Man, Daniel, you should join the Talk Real Estate Reddit so that you could provide additional insight. That was good. All right, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put this thing on there, but no pressure if you don't want to join. We're already at 100% growth for this week, so that's been tons of fun. And there, yeah, Talk Real Estate. We can go over all of the posts on a weekly basis and talk about those on these Friday morning real estate chats. That'll be tons of fun. Thanks, man. Yeah. It's a skill that I picked up. In law enforcement, they make you do, what is it called? Verbal judo. Oh, it's so funny. You should Google verbal judo. It's so silly, but I'm sure it's helpful. All right, 15 people on the chat. Any questions that you might have, go ahead and post those questions in the chat. There are a few openings in the mastermind, seek-wisdom.com/join. I would just recommend that you watch the video to learn exactly what that is about before you fill out that little application. Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. That is the time frame where there are a few openings. Super helpful. I really like it. There's a video on the YouTube channel called Seek Wisdom Mastermind. It's about 30 to 45 minutes. I can't remember exactly how long, but I wanted to be very thorough about exactly what this is and what it isn't. So if that's something that interests you, looking forward to seeing you there. Do you have suggestions if there isn't a lot of foreclosures available? Be less picky, look farther away, driving for dollars, making contacts, etc. I do. So in personal finance, one of the common things to shoot for or aim for is having 7 streams of income. And I think you should probably have the same for deal flow. So I don't think you should get caught up on foreclosures. I think foreclosures are a great source of deals, but you shouldn't depend on them. I'm down to adjust the criteria and filter those things out in all of the ways that you just said. But in addition to looking at foreclosures, I would also make sure that you are networking with wholesalers, networking with realtors, regularly going through the MLS, getting some realtors to set up some, search functions for you so that every morning you're getting a rundown of the properties that loosely fit your criteria. I would constantly, tell everybody that ever has a conversation with you that you're interested in real estate investing. I think you're going to be really surprised at just like what that word of mouth does, because if you stay top of mind, talk about real estate very often, if you're active on subreddits called Talk Real Estate, people are going to know. They're going to know what area that you're in, and eventually you're going to get some deals sent your way. Some friends and family members that I never thought would help me get real estate deals have sent deals our way just because they have been in a conversation with somebody that their house has turned into a burden for them, either inheritance, getting in a bad personal financial situation, whatever it may be, a divorce, and they want to get rid of their property. And a lot of people, for some reason, they consider talking to realtors just being a really big hassle. It's probably because the realtors encourage them to do things like clean the house and address some deferred maintenance and stuff like that, where as a lot of people are just interested in just offloading the property. And it's when people want to offload a property that you stand to make a decent amount of equity. So, word of mouth is really big. Contractors, they have sent us a lot of deals from like that same kind of word of mouth thing. There's a cool software called PropStream, which I'm not so sure I have discussed on here yet today. PropStream, I'm an affiliate for one of them. I most certainly believe in that software. I think it's one of the coolest things that has happened in real estate in quite some time. It's just a massive data aggregator. It shows you like pre-foreclosures, properties that are like in the process of the foreclosure happening. Those are generally a good way to find deals. In the last live stream, I linked that. And I think I've got the affiliate link in most of the video descriptions. So check out that link if you're going to use PropStream. That affiliate link will get you a 7-day free trial. I think it's worthwhile. So I'm not just saying that because I'm an affiliate. I'm saying it because I use it very regularly, both to find deals and also to run comp reports. It has a really cool feature in there where it lets you run your own comps, which prior to PropStream, I would kind of abuse the realtors that I used frequently to please run comps for me. And a lot of times when they ran them, I disagreed with the properties that they selected because, quite honestly, since it wasn't a money-making activity for them, they just threw it together as fast as they can. But PropStream gives you the ability to go through, look at any pictures that might be on the internet of the property, really filter through, the distance, the square footage, the number of beds and baths, and all of that. So you can really get pretty granular with figuring out exactly what a property is worth. And when we bought that package of 20 properties, I went through and made like a pretty specific comp report for all of those. And I can proudly say we were within $5,000 of what the appraisals came back at on that package deal. So that was super cool. Very, very appreciative of that software. All that to say, bringing it full circle back into streams of deal flow, with PropStream, there are some like direct marketing features and also, just you driving for dollars, finding properties that you're interested in. PropStream will allow you to figure out, if there's a mortgage on the property, how much the balance is. Now it's a guess, but, they'll speculate. And then who owns the property, their mailing address. It'll even show you linked properties. So if the owner of that property owns, several other properties, then it'll show you that. So you can connect with the owners of the properties that you're interested in via PropStream, and you can also elect to send them like postcards via PropStream. You can also skip trace them, find their email addresses and phone numbers, and you can contact them that way. So it's sort of just like, direct mail marketing or campaigning for off-market deals that you can source yourself. PropStream equips you in order to do that. So all of those ways are the ways that I would suggest you constantly kind of foster those streams of deal flow so that you have the most exposure to deals. And if you do that very well, if you can conjure up tons of streams of deal flow, and you will likely come across deals that are good deals, but just outside of the scope of what you're trying to do. And I mean, I've been able to pass off deals to other people that have been profitable for them, and that just feels good. So it's fun. And that could be a source of revenue for you. And, when you find a good deal for someone, it's not uncommon to get paid like $5 or $10 grand for introducing them to that deal, if that's a possibility. I've never done that. Well, I've done it once, but that was a weird circumstance. It wasn't just like somebody reached out to me saying, "Do you want to buy this property?" And I just forward that text to somebody else. I don't ask for money on stuff like that. But all I'm saying is that could be a source of revenue for you if you, really get that system down. What was the mastermind website again? Thanks, man. seek-wisdom.com/join. I'll leave that rolling for a little bit instead of that disclaimer that I'm sure all of you have read 100 times over while I have been talking very slowly. I've started watching your PropStream video and I'm excited about learning more. I'll for sure use your link. Man, Brett, you're awesome. Marcus Markey, that's a fun name. Thoughts on owning a mixed commercial 2 storefronts in residential, 3-bed, 1-bath, 3 hours away. So we actually just purchased a mixed-use commercial property. It has 1 storefront downstairs and 2 units upstairs. We purchased the property for $75,000. The units upstairs are rented out for like $950 combined. So like one's at $550 and one's at $350, which that's $900 per month. Oh, I can has math. I can has math good. We currently have the storefront is vacant. We have no idea what to do with it. We're currently I actually posted on Reddit to another group trying to figure out what in the world I should do with it. We'll see. We'll see. Fortunately, it's a decent enough deal on its own, with just the amount of rent that it's already bringing in without the commercial front. We have no experience on the commercial side of things. And this is a little bit out of our comfort zone. We don't have whatever systems or whatnot built in place for it. So it kind of falls outside of what we're used to doing. And commercial real estate is a funny thing at the moment as well. So I don't know. Just from the responses that I got from that Reddit post that I did, it said that a lot of the commercial real estate investors were saying that it's generally best practice to have a tenant in mind prior to putting a property under contract and already having sold that tenant on occupying that commercial space after closing on the property. That sounds really good. I don't know how practical that is, especially I think if you were to get into the higher up, A-class retail space, then that is probably a lot more probable than I think this is like a C. Some would argue it's a D area that this commercial space that I have is in. So those are all of my thoughts on it. Just to say that I am also trying to figure out the same thing. I don't know. Does it have people that are already in there? Are they long-term commercial tenants? That would be fun. That might change it a little bit. Our loose plan was once we got to 120 properties, we were really going to start focusing on the surrounding commercial space and figure out start focusing on the experience of living in that area. But this property, this commercial space, has just really confused us. Thanks, man. Yeah, I hear that. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to ask all your questions on here. Thanks for finding me and, participating. This was tons of fun. 12 people on the call. We are an hour and 45 minutes in. That's kind of fun. We generally make it to about 2 to 2.5 hours, but this is also, a good time. So I'm happy with everything that we have. We have reached the end of the comments. So if you have any questions, let me know. Post them here. Happy to help. Happy to help. Oh, look at that. 7 members. 7 members on the Reddit. That's really cool. Now we're going places. Over 100% growth at this point. Real fancy. $12 people on. 0 questions. I'm down to wait for a couple minutes. See if anybody asks some additional questions. If not, I'm also super happy. Hardest thing for you in your first deal? That's a really good question. I think the first deal is not so much about getting the best of all possible deals. Obviously, that helps. I really think the most important part of your first deal is just kind of becoming the man in the arena. You could do all the education, you could do all the research that you could possibly do, but there are always going to be more ways to learn and things that you missed in your research when you actually get out and become the practitioner. So the most important part of your first deal is just getting into the game, learning the ropes by doing, and just becoming that practitioner. So I would say you can circumvent a lot of the more expensive mistakes by surrounding yourself with other real estate investors. I was fortunate enough to find a bunch of local investors that were willing to kind of take me under their wing, mentor me, show me the ropes. And, I had like a solid 4 people that I would call prior to purchasing any properties. And before I purchased my first property, I called, all 4 people and, had the pros and cons conversation, talked about the price point, the condition. I took entirely too many pictures, showed them all the pictures, and I just was able to talk through it with a bunch of people way more experienced than I was. So I was able to circumvent some of the things that I may have had to learn by trial and error. So I'm not saying by any means just buy a property for the sake of buying the property. That would be pretty reckless. But forming a good network and good relationships with real estate investors that have the size portfolio that you're looking to build is really wise. And then just, what's that thing that carpenters say? Measure twice, cut once. I would do the same thing as a real estate investor. Analyze twice, get input from your mentors twice, and then pull the trigger. So one of the things that I've learned just in real estate investing, by and large, is that there really aren't that many emergencies. And if there's a true emergency, then likely you're the wrong outlet for that. It's generally some sort of like security issue, which is a law enforcement deal, or fire issue, which is a fire department deal. You would have to clean up and do all the appropriate things afterwards on both occasions. But yeah, I would say this entire time we've only had 2 real emergencies. One, a basement wall collapsed because of some heavy rain. That was crazy. And then the other, we had a ceiling fall. I don't know why, but it was in the middle of the night and the lady was sleeping, and it was scary, especially for her. So those are the only 2 things which cannot possibly be predicted. Other than that, you can take your time, you can do your research, you can talk to people, you can get the best advice. You can then take that advice that you get and give it and run it by a couple of other people before you make any decision. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. There are already some corner stores there. I think that's a really good idea. And somebody, on that Reddit thread suggested that as well, and to give discounts to the existing residents, which I think is a really cool idea, because I definitely want it to be something that benefits the community as a whole. But I'm open to that. I don't know. We'll see. Seems good, sounds good. Just really need to think it through. And I don't know what I don't know. And this is new territory for me, uncharted waters. I saw a condo that I'm thinking of purchasing as my first rental. Anything I should worry about? The condo association fees. Condos are one of those things. Paul, he's on here. He's got an awesome condo, and he has had some success with that, I believe. Yeah, I would just be leery of the condo associations. I mean, something like that, you don't necessarily ever own entirely because you're, at the whim of whatever the condo association decides. So, I think if you invest in a condo, then you should probably plan on playing some sort of role on the condo association board or whatever it's called. I think that would be prudent to kind of protect your investment and kind of protect it from whatever bureaucratic administrative terror might be out to get you. So I don't think personally I would do it, but I know a lot of investors that do it and seem to be doing it just fine. So I have no firsthand knowledge, but I do think it can be done. Oh, look at that. We have 8 members on this Reddit now. That's very exciting. I'll just put this as a banner just in case any of you other 13 people on here want to join. We are going places. This is very exciting. I hope to make a community of people that talk real estate a lot and get a lot of answers to the questions that they have. So that's tons of fun. Tons of fun. The fee really low. The numbers I ran make sense, but I'll keep on watching it. Hey, if the numbers make sense, then keep doing your due diligence. And just because there's a low fee doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't in the future say, you know what, we don't want any renters in this condo association. So we're going to pass this thing that say all condos must be owner occupied. And again, this is me being inexperienced, having never dealt with it, just thinking of the worst. It's kind of similar to somebody saying, oh, you don't want to be a landlord. Somebody might call you with a toilet problem at midnight. It's on the same vein of advice. How do I find a good contractor? This, Marcus Markey, is the industry-wide billion-dollar question. I think if you could find a way to only have good contractors, then you will be the richest man in the real estate investing community. So contractors, finding good ones is probably one of the most painful things and one of the hardest things to do in this industry. I would say that almost every seasoned veteran real estate investor has some sort of horror story or war story about bad contractors. So trial and error, a lot of trial and error. PropStream should have the auction information on it if the property is up for sheriff auction on the county website, right? Maybe I'm looking at in the wrong place, but I don't see it. It depends on how easy it is. So PropStream is just one giant data aggregating website. It generally scrapes all the websites that it can. Your particular county, if for whatever reason PropStream cannot scrape the data off that, it might not show up. I definitely say that PropStream makes the researching of the property a lot easier in most places, but at the same time, you know, it's a lot longer and it's a lot more tedious, but I don't think any software can ever beat manual research. So you might have to do that. What would you like the subreddit to look like in a year? I don't really know. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to be very mindful of, you know, I went on a little kick. You've been on here pretty much the whole time. So earlier I went on the kick about just not liking social media because, you know, you click on one thing and then it shows you a million other things that it might, that it thinks you might like based on other people that have clicked on millions of things. I just don't like that. I don't like my brain feeling like it's being hijacked over, you know, whatever it is that I'm looking at. So I don't think Reddit is that way, but I say all that to say, like, I am definitely wanting to be more of a quality over quantity type thing. So I really, you know, when I first started doing this YouTube stuff, I was trying to figure out how to like play the algorithm and, you know, get, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers. But then I really noticed that, you know, if I'm playing the algorithm game and I'm after quantity, then like the quality really lacks. And like, I'm not trying to make a bunch of one-off videos about topics that I don't really know anything about, just because that is what a lot of people are typing into YouTube. And, you know, the connections that I do make on here, like I can say that at this point, I've made at least 6 very close friends from this YouTube channel that have just reached out. We've had multiple conversations and, you know, now we text regularly. And I think that this entire social media journey or whatever is worth it just because I got to meet those individuals. So yeah, I'm not setting any sort of number on like how many members or whatnot that I want to have. I just want it to be a overall value add to people looking to get started investing in real estate. Because the one thing that I can say is the only reason I'm where I'm at today is because people consciously decided to pour into my life and give me information. I've never paid for a real estate investing course. I have never, subscribed to any of these guru things. It has just been people sharing information. I have purchased books, and I think reading a lot of books is very beneficial. But, one of the things that I like to make sure that I'm doing is, hey, freely receive, freely give. So just creating a community of people that want to encourage each other, help each other navigate through the more difficult real estate investing things. I really just want that to be the lifeblood of the community that is created in the culture on that subreddit. So, this channel is great. A lot of people ask questions, and as you've even seen today, like what Daniel did earlier was, he saw your question and he answered it in a way that I would not have answered it. And I think that is something that I've seen a lot of on this YouTube channel. There's a guy on here that spends a decent amount of time on here. His name is Ian Clip. That's his username, at least. He has tons of information that he shares when he's in here. And sees like the chat. He's a very knowledgeable individual, and I just haven't been able to figure out how to encourage more of like the cross, I don't even know what you call it, interactions between the subscribers of the channel, because I think there's a lot more potential and power in the group of people that are subscribing to the channel than we're able to kind of tap into here on the YouTube platform. So that is all of my thoughts are surrounding social media, my goals for how I interact with social media, and everything else. So there it is. I set a 3-year goal for myself. I wanted to help 10 people buy 10 properties because I think 10 properties is a life-changing number of properties. And I think that milestone should not be ignored. And it's also one that with enough focus, attention, and determination is pretty easy to reach. So obviously that depends on your starting point. Not everybody would be able to do it inside of 3 years, depending on where you're starting from. But that was just a goal that I had that I really want to, that I'm monitoring. And so far we're doing pretty well. But nonetheless, just, as I think about 60 or 70 or 80-year-old Ryan Ingram, I would prefer to look back and see a bunch of people that are better off because I was able to, get on here every Friday morning and share whatever it is that I know. And in no way am I taking credit for any of the other people's success. It's only because they are putting in the work. But, hey, freely receive, freely give. Do you have off-market properties inspected? I don't get any properties inspected anymore, and that may be a mistake. And it has cost me dearly when I've missed a couple of things. But, if you are truly looking at real estate from like a 30 to 40 year perspective, I mean, the things that I've missed, it's okay. It would have happened at some point. We purchased a property, and the most expensive one that I've missed here recently was I just wasn't paying attention. I wasn't in the right headspace. I was stressed about something. I was walking through the property. I looked at all the interior stuff. I was happy with it. No big deal. I completely forgot to look at the roof. In very short order, after we purchased the property, we found that not only did it need a new roof, but it also had 4 layers and wood shake shingle underneath it. So that was like a $15,000 roof that we had to pay for immediately. And if I paid for a professional inspection, I would have seen that, and I would have negotiated that in the sale price. But on that property in particular, I mean, we bought it for 40 grand. We did it the right way. We tore off all of the layers of shingles. We redecked the entire house. So now, I mean, that roof that we put on there came with a 50-year warranty from like GAF, whatever that means. I think that's the people that makes the shingles, a GAF warranty. So, it's worthwhile, and now it's good. So over the 30, 40 years of me owning the home, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Over the short term, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Was looking for contractors who pull permits for a full burr property, but some tell me it's not necessary. Thoughts? That's a question that really depends on where you are. Here in Dayton, permits don't have to be pulled like they do in places like New Jersey. I know, like, I've got a couple friends in New Jersey, and I mean, they even have to pull permits to replace water heaters, which I think is bananas. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be silly here in this area that I'm in to pay contractors to pull permits on everything, even when it's not needed. I don't think I would like that. And I don't think the county would like that either, or the city. So I don't know. I don't think I'm the best outlet for that question. However, if you ask that question in the subreddit, maybe other people would have better answers for that. Here's that little old link. Talk real estate. I think that's a pretty solid name for a subreddit group, because that's all we want to do. Just talk real estate. And now we're at 9 members. We're up. We started the morning at 3. It's 200%. Yeah, 200% growth. Going places. We are moving. Super happy. Super pumped. All right, 15 people on the chat. So that means, I guess, 2 people just joined. For those of you, I pinned a comment as well. Reddit, trying to create a subreddit where we talk real estate all day long. This Friday morning at 8 a.m. block can now be done all week. And not only will I be answering the questions, but the other wise people in the chat too. Paul Amgatcher is often in here, and man, he is one of my mentors. I leaned on him very heavily when I first got started. He is a fantastic resource. So if people like him get involved in this subreddit as well, I'll tell you what, we're going places. Straight slinging wisdom around for all to see. It'd be very exciting. Very, very exciting. There's always an uptick right around 10 a.m. if we ever make it this far. I think it's because the West Coast is now kind of crawling out of bed. What is it, 7 a.m. over there? So it's not an unreasonable hour. I think for most people on the West Coast, when we first started, it's just like 5 a.m., which is too early for most people to be thinking about real estate, even if it is a one-way conversation. So if you're just joining us, hey, post your questions in the chat. Happy to answer them. And also, join this little subreddit thing. Super excited about it. We've already experienced 200% growth today. We're at 9 people. So will you be the 10th? Tell you what, if you are the 10th member, you can go to the original post and download a free copy of the book that I wrote on insurance for real estate investors. Because you deserve it. That's in celebration of both getting this $10,000, hitting the 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, and also you guys just being awesome. I need 10 more. You're the man. Oh man, I appreciate you being helpful for this channel. I'm helpful for you, man. Straight paving the way. Thoughts on owning rentals that's out of state? I think that's tall order. I think it's tough. I know I insure a couple of people that are really good at investing out of state. And I think the commonalities with them is they have relationships, very good relationships with people that they trust. They put in the time to build relationships with contractors. They lean heavily on a contractor in addition to whatever property management company that they may use. And they kind of, serve as kind of checks and balances on each other. So a lot of them will, send out the contractor to verify that everything the property management company said is true. And then they'll send out the property management company to make sure that their contractor fixed everything appropriately. And on top of that, they regularly visit their properties. So the ones that have done a really bad job, and on some of them, they have allowed me to purchase their properties from them after they just get burnt out of being out-of-state investors. It's just because they never came here. They really wanted to be absentee. They kind of thought that it would be a very laissez-faire, hands-off investment. And, I know that real estate is often advertised in that light, but that's just not the case. You really got to pay attention. If you stop paying attention, your money really starts disappearing very quickly. So staying top of mind, having some sort of checks and balances, and regularly laying your eyes on it, I think is the best things that out-of-state investors can do. So if you plan on doing any sort of out-of-state investing, I would most certainly say that you need to plan on regularly visiting the properties and kind of include that in your expected business expenses. West Coast here, who just started investing in the Midwest. Nice. I know the area. I thought a good friend of mine, Jeremy, gave me the confidence. Nice. Praised for Rental Property Insurance is a great book. Thanks. I appreciate it. If you're talking about my book. Yeah, I mean, really, I just took, it's kind of like a FAQ. Each time I talk to a new investor who's getting their first property, or an investor that, I never really thought about insurance for their portfolio. They just did whoever their normal home and auto insurance was through. I just took all the conversations that I likely had, because I think, if I were to onboard somebody to the insurance agency and, get us on the same page, it's generally like an hour and a half long conversation. So I thought to myself, after having that same conversation multiple times in a day, I thought to myself, why not I just write a book and give this book to as many people as I can? Because this is what investors need to know about rental property insurance that often isn't talked about, because a lot of insurance agents, don't really specialize in insurance for real estate. So that was the inspiration of it. And I'm happy that you are investing in the Midwest. I think the Midwest is hands down probably the best place to invest in real estate at the moment, especially if you are on the West Coast and have access to one of those super duper high paying W-2 jobs. I think one of the coolest things that you could do is take that money and invest in something like the Midwest. The returns are great. Opportunity is plentiful. And especially with a lot of the West Coast jobs being remote for a little bit, I think if the remote work were to stay and you could work for these West Coast companies and then move to a Midwest place and build a rental portfolio, I think that would be the easiest way to excel in real estate very quickly. If you are in that industry where you are able to have a high paying W-2 job from one of these Silicon Valley companies. What was your worst tenant? I think it's pretty easy just to make the broad generalization that says the worst tenant is the one that just doesn't pay and tears up the property, right? So, if you tear up the property, that's not good. And if you don't pay, that's even worse. So, yeah. As far as like the other things about like always complaining about something, like that's not necessarily bad. I don't mind that, because at the root of it, all they really want is for the property to be really nice, which aligns with exactly what I want. I want the property to be really nice and last a really long time too. So I don't mind that so much. What really gets me is when people just don't pay. That'll break down the business model really quick. This business model is kind of dependent upon people paying rent. I think so. If you're talking about Yeah, last name H, really long H. Jeremy. Yeah. I like him a lot. He's good people. He's out west too. All right, 15 people in the chat. We're slowly building up a massive following on Reddit. We've already experienced a whopping 200% growth today. We're currently sitting real pretty at 9 members. We started the morning with 3. And hey, before too long, you guys are going to start making posts throughout the week in this thread. We're going to start answering them. And then, hey, we're going to start talking about them every Friday morning. You know, let's squeeze the most amount of value as we possibly can out of everybody and all the collective wisdom that sits on this channel. All right, 2 hours and 13 minutes, 14 people on the call. That's a good sized classroom. Now that I just looked down at my screen, I realized that this key machine has been behind me this entire time. So if any of you, I bought this key machine whenever I first took over property management. It's called the Nomad, made by JMA. It was like $500. Had good reviews. I had one of those AC inverters in my vehicle. I wanted to clean up because we don't have keys to some of the properties. So I started this massive campaign where I was going around to the properties and making copies of keys on site. I had an AC inverter in my car. I plugged it up. I used it twice. I made 2 stops and copied the keys, and then the thing never worked again. So while my brother was here, he's one of those engineer people who knows how to tinker with everything. We tried to fix it. No dice. So if you know how to fix it, let me know. Pretty sad. It's pretty basic wiring underneath there. Just has one big motor. Maybe I burned out the motor. I've replaced the fuses several times. No dice. But if you're going to build a large portfolio, I highly suggest buying your own key machine. Making copies of keys is very easy. And if you're not careful, I mean, just, man, making so many trips to like Home Depot just to make a copy of a key or wherever else you can get them. And it's nauseating to a certain extent. That thing was $500. If you did the math on, your hourly rate, how many copies of keys could you really do before $500? So I would highly suggest having one. And now, because that one is broken and I have 0 now, going back to that adage that I learned in law enforcement, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. I'm feeling that right now. So I'm probably going to buy another one at some point soon. Probably a different brand though. Oh yeah. And now that I'm looking behind me again, here are the fuses that I have replaced quite some time. A lot of times. It wasn't that I blew a fuse. So I don't know, maybe I had it hooked up to too low a voltage for a while and burned out the motor. No idea. All right. Any questions that you might have, go ahead and post them in the chat. Disclaimers. Not legal advice. Now that we talked about the key machine, one of the things that I do that I think is smart is I carry a bag of key tags with me in my car. And I just reached a point where I would have random sets of keys laying around, and I lost track of what property they were for. And I kidded myself for so long because I would, I'd be at a closing or something. I would look at the key and I'm like, okay, I'm going to remember this key. I'm never going to forget what this key goes for because I'm right here, right now with this key closing on this property. And then of course it would end up, in my car door, and the day went on and then I forgot what key it went to. So started carrying a pin and a bag of like 500 key tags with me. And as soon as I get a key, I go straight to my trunk, pull out a key tag, write down which property it's for, and then I'm accomplished. Then I'll never forget what that key's for again. Pro tip, Can you speak to how to determine your ARV? I've only looked at comps via MLS, but sometimes I can be a huge range, 90 to 140K. Yes. I use PropStream for this. I use PropStream a lot for this. You know what? I've wanted to record a video on this, on how I use PropStream to run comps for quite some time. Yeah, it's really helpful. Do you have an address in mind of like what a property that you've been looking at that you've wanted to run comps for? If you do, let me know. Any advice on working a 9 to 5 and trying to get into real estate? It's easy and you can do it. I think every single person that I know that has gotten into real estate did so while working a 9 to 5 job. It is very uncommon to go straight into real estate investing, because real estate investing is one of those things where, you know, it is at the end of the day investing. You have to have a source of revenue to get started. And, you know, to be more precise, you have to have an excess of revenue in order to get started. So not many people just have an excess of revenue. You know, technically my brother and I still work full-time jobs and do real estate on the side. You know, he's a loan officer. He does a lot of loans down in Florida, and, you know, I've got the insurance agency. So there's that. And the mastermind groups, and this YouTube channel, and the real estate. Somebody called me this morning and we were talking about something I don't remember, but he was, you know, I can't remember what we were talking about, but ultimately I was just like, yeah, man, I make a little bit of money from a lot of different places. I'm not one of these people that makes most of my money from one place. He's like, yeah, I gathered that pretty quickly. So that's me. All right, reach the end of the comment thread. Let's see here. We are at, we're going to be at 10. Nope, still at 9 members on the subreddit, which is great. 200% growth. If you are looking for the subreddit, it's pinned in the comments, and it's also displayed now on the screen. So go ahead and join. It's most certainly going to be worth your while. And the bottom, the original thread, that is a free resource for you. It is the electronic copy of the book that I wrote about insurance for real estate investors. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Well, unless we have any other questions in the last few minutes, I'm going to say that this was a good day, and go ahead and chalk it up as a win, and hop off this bad boy. You know, when I used to end these things, I would say, talk to you next Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but that's not going to be applicable anymore, because I'm likely going to talk to you on that subreddit before the next week's live stream. Also, on my to-do list today, I need to create a, what's it called? So I had an app created specifically just to serve you guys as an additional resource. It's going to be free to you all, as everything that I try to do, except for the mastermind. And I guess PropStream, but that's an affiliate thing. Yeah, an app created, and I have to do some sort of like, I think it's a privacy policy. I have to create one of those on a website before you can upload that app to the iTunes. So I'm going to get that done today, so that I could then, I'll post about it as well. I'll probably create a video about how to interact with it, how to use it, and all that. So that'll be really exciting. I'm looking forward to showing that to you guys. I'm really looking forward to using it myself as well. So It's pretty fun. Pretty fun. Hello. Happy to see you on here. I'm happy you made it. Right as we're ending. Oh, this might be up your alley. There's a subreddit now that we're going to talk real estate. All of us together. We're going to get all of our questions answered. It's going to be boatloads of fun. Tons of fun. All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it. I will talk to all of you that have joined the Reddit today pretty soon. I'll make a couple of posts and answer any questions that are on there. And I will also be looking forward to talking to you all again next week at Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the meantime, if you guys have any idea on how to fix this key machine, let me know. Really looking forward to it. All right. I will see you all next week.